Well, the first thing I'd like to say, and I brought my notes, but I probably would do this just to what I feel, but I want to first of all say I think all of the Mounties are here today. And that means that Garvie's with us as well. I'd like to acknowledge a couple of people, one who's not here, and both of them who are not here, and of course that's Garvie and Ricky's mother and father, Dick and Nancy Craw, who are not here, who were tremendous leaders and pioneers in this community back in the 50s, and I'll talk about that a little later on. But also all the teammates who are here. I know most of you. You look older, but the eyes are the same. I want to acknowledge a couple of people who I think are worth acknowledging, and I apologize if I don't acknowledge everyone. But first of all, I want to acknowledge again Dave Cushman, who flew from California to be here. And also, the measure of a man is often attributed to not only his friends, but also his competitors. And if you remember the name, Jimmy Reynolds, who was an outstanding quarterback for Seton Hall. Jimmy is here today. Jimmy was a competitor of Garvie when Garvie and Jimmy hooked up at Woodman Field, as we did with Jimmy Reynolds. But Jimmy is here, but Jimmy would just wave and let us know that he's here. Where is he? I don't think it's any secret that Garvie's first love will always be Sue and the kids. But I think that Montclair High School and Michigan, the Wolverines, kind of battled out for second place over the years. But I can tell you one thing that came to me about, just after Garvie had passed away, and I was thinking about Garvie. I was thinking about Garvie an awful lot, but one of the things that came to mind was that I can imagine Garvie right now up there in the big sky, the big game in the sky, and you've got you got Butch and you've got Clary, who of course who are the coaches giving out uniforms, and you've got Orby Lewis sitting there with number 17, and you've got Richie Haynes with number 35. And out of nowhere, Garvie walks in and says to all of them, "I don't know about you guys, but I'm playing football too." If you know Garvie, you know that's exactly what he told them. I met Garvie, of course, back in 1958. Those of us who were in the 4th Ward downtown, I'm talking about Bruce Taylor and Skip Johnson, and Joey Lennon was there, I guess, at that time. Lenny was really an uptown boy, but he was there. but we call the Craw brothers, we call it the Craw Brothers Invasion, because they came down to Nishuane Park to play football with us. And little did we know what that really meant in terms of relationships. Ricky, who most of you don't know as a brother, but Ricky probably in those days was a better football player. In my opinion, Garvie, sorry. and I can recall, don't laugh, but I was a 90-pound guard, defensive guard in those days. And Ricky remembers that. And I can remember tackling Garvie early on in the season, and Garvie getting up, rather than saying a nice tackle, he said, "Ronnie, who runs harder, Ricky or me?" Those days, those relationships were built on love and respect for each other. I'm sure that was instilled in your parents. And along with love and respect, we learned how to win football games. And of course, as we moved along and got to the high school, those relationships, of course, became solidified. And as most people know, Garvie was a great football player. I mean, I think he was a bigger man and human being than he was a football player in my eyes, but Garvie was a terrific football player. He was a devastating blocker. He was a long strider who could run the football, he could catch the football, and he could punt. He did all the punting for us in those days. Garvie Craw was really never off the field. From Montclair High School and all of that beginning, he went off to Michigan. And of course, at Michigan playing for Bo Schembechler, he played 3 years. In all his varsity games, Garvie Craw never lost a yard on the football field. Tremendous. He played at Michigan with guys like Dan Deerdorf and Ron Johnson. And I want to shift down and talk a little about Garvie Craw, the man. But as you know, at Montclair, in the early days, it was Garvie didn't have a prejudice bone in his body. Garvie was a leader. Garvie taught us, and most of us, the guys who were downtown, he taught us how we could all play together and win. Garvie went out to Michigan, and the Michigan football team in those days was pretty segregated when they ate and when they partied. Garvie Craw said, I'm from Montclair, and you guys will know how to be teammates. Garvie went out, and Sue will know the story. Garvie went out and they had dinner together, they had lunch together, and they partied together.
Ron?
Yes?
I just want to add, though, I'm the one who taught him how to dance. I knew where you were going.
Well, you changed my script now because you know, he could dance, but but the real truth too is that in Michigan, Garvie was very close to Ronnie Johnson, who was a kid from Detroit, and Ronnie Johnson, I've talked to Ron since then, used to say, I've got to get a piece of Montclair. He said, I can't believe what Montclair has produced in a human being like Garvie Craw, and that was simply Garvie. But Garvie in the 60s with Joey Lennon and Bruce Taylor and myself, we used to run over it. Garvie was a big Temptations Four Tops man. He thought he was Jimmy Ruffin, you know. David Ruffin. He thought it was David Ruffin. He really did. He used to do the Temptation walk all the time. Did he not?
Well, they all do.
Yeah. They tried anyway. So I want to just give you a sense of Garvie the man, and Garvie, of course, was a terrific football player. But I'll tell you that there's a day doesn't go by I don't think about that rascal. And I think that as I know he's here today, you know, the most important thing for us to take away from this is that this is an emblem of something that Garvie stood for. But Garvie believed in people. So it's up to us really as a group of folks who love that man to keep him in your memories, and remember that as Sue said, he was courageous and he was a fighter. He was a hell of a fighter. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.